Howdy, howdy, y'all. This is another Maharaj uh, episode, reaction video, whatever you want to call it. Uh, this is chapter 35. Greatest guru is your inner self. Um, this conversation, I will say, I don't think I had anything too, like in terms of content, in terms of, yeah, the content and what Maharaj is arguing. Nothing too like he's nothing different, and not seeing anything out of left field coming from him in this one. Um, it's question is interesting. For example, the questioner asks at one point, "Has devotion, bhakti, any place in your teaching?" Which I feel like that's kind of a silly question personally. I mean, I feel like devotion is always like a very important in like any life thing you do. Um, in any sort of pursuit. But I get what he means just because like before it's I get it because Maharaj's thing about being the self, you're like this thing beyond the body, beyond mind, beyond this human thing, blah blah blah. I get how that can be like, well, that doesn't mean I don't need to be devoted to anything. In fact, he kind of does do that, and I'll get to that. But anyways, so the questioner does, yeah, he asks us devotion, bhakti, any place in your teaching, and Maharaj really goes like this is like a long passage, and so I'll skip to and the part where what I found really intriguing is without he says, but merely to trust is not enough. You must also desire. Without desire for freedom, of what use is the confidence that you can acquire freedom? Desire and confidence must go together. The stronger you desire, the easier comes to help. The greatest guru is helpless as long as the disciple is not eager to learn. Eagerness and earnestness are all important. Confidence will come with experience. Be devoted to your goal, and devotion to him who can guide you will follow. If your desire and confidence are strong, they will operate and take you to your goal, for you will not cause delay by hesitation and compromise. The greatest guru is your inner self. Truly, he is the supreme teacher. He alone can take you to your goal, and he alone meets you at the end of the road. Confide in him, and you need no outer guru. But again, you must have the strong desire to find him and do nothing that will create obstacles and delays. Do not waste energy and time on regrets. Learn from your mistakes and do not repeat them. Um, Actually, oh, I did. Will say, and then right afterwards, it gets really. It's interesting. So first of all, we'll say just my what I think of that part. Why I bring that up because I think that's just important in general in life. I think that's just an important like quote that you can just like apply in general, especially to this sort of like what we kind of do this as this sort of spiritual pursuit and trying to obtain this thing called enlightenment or self realization or whatever you might say. I think that is something worth noteworthy, and it's something for me, especially personally. I think it's the fact of just having that. Even though desire, yeah, is typically not associated as like the best of things because it's like the source of suffering and blah blah blah. But the thing is you kind of do have to invert it, like use it in a way on itself, like use the ego itself to, you know, for the ego for that ego death. Use the ego itself to commit that. So it's kind of like that sort of line of inquiry, which I do agree with to some extent. I mean, it gets tricky, but obviously, yeah, that you do need that sort of desire or just that force pushing you forward through that because all the forces are universal forces in which yes we are the universe that includes those universal forces as well. But anyways, they get into this kind of back and forth because Maharaj is sitting on some antler skins, and it's interesting because he Maharaj gets a bit personal. I mean, because even the questioner, if you don't mind my asking a personal question, Maharaj, yes, go ahead. Questioner, I see you sitting on an antelope skin. How how does it tally with nonviolence? Maharaj, All my working life, I was a cigarette maker, helping people to spoil their health. And in front of my door, the municipality has put up a public laboratory spoiling my health. In this violent world, how can one keep away from violence of some kind or other? Questioner: surely all avoidable violence should be avoided, and yet, in India, every holy man has a tiger, lion, leopard, or antelope skin to sit on. Maharaj, maybe because no plastics were available in ancient times, and the skin was best to keep the damp away. Remotism was no charm or even for a saint. Thus, the tradition arose for lengthy meditations. The skin is needed, just like the drum hide in a temple. So is the antelope skin of a yogi. We hardly notice it. Questioner: but an animal had to be killed. Maharaj, I have never heard of a yogi killing a tiger for his hide. The killers are not the yogis, and the yogis are not killers. Questioner: should you not express your disapproval by refusing to sit on a skin? Maharaj: what an idea! I disapprove the entire universe. Why only a skin? Questioner: what is wrong with the universe? Maharaj: forgetting yourself is the greatest injury. All the calamities flow from it. Take care from the most important, the lesser will take care of itself. You do not tidy up a dark room. You open the windows first. Letting in the light makes everything easy. So let us wait to improve others until we have seen ourselves as we are and have changed. There is no need to turn around in endless questioning. Find yourself, and everything will fall into its proper place. Um, and then he actually responds to that with another thing I'll kind of get into in a second. But what I like about that back and forth is you can say, first of all, he was trying to do. I think we can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to do a gotcha, right? Or I shouldn't say he. This questioner. They were trying to do a gotcha on Maharaj, which you see that from time to time. I mean, they really just sometimes I get it. Like the ego really likes to fight back. Really doesn't like being challenged, even when even when our opinions are of like the world is so dreary and bad. Like he admits in this questioner admits in there like that the world is a dreary and bad place, and has this seemingly very pessimistic outlook. Even despite that, still doesn't want that challenge because the ego is so resistant to those sort of changes. That's what you see in this. Um, um, yeah. But the questioner even says the urge to return to the source is very rare. Is it at all natural? Maharaj, outgoing is natural in the beginning, ingoing in the end. But in reality, the two are one, just like breathing in and out are one. Questioner, in the same way, are not the body and the dweller in body one? And then Maharaj, events in time and space, birth and death, cause and effect, these may be taken as one, but the body and the embodied are not of the same order of reality. The body exists in time and space, transcendent and unlimited, while the dweller is timeless and spaceless, eternal and all-pervading. To identify the two is a grievous mistake and the cause of endless suffering. You can speak of the mind and body as one, but the mind body is not the underlying reality. Questioner, whoever may be the dweller is in control of the body and therefore responsible for it. Maharaj, there is an universal power which is in control and is responsible. Questioner, and so I can do as I like and put the blame on some universal power? How easy! Maharaj, yes, very easy. Just realize the one mover behind all that moves and leave all to him. If you do not hesitate or cheat, this is the shortest way to reality. Stand alone without desire and fear, relinquishing all control and all responsibility. Then the questioner goes, what madness? And I love how then Maharaj responds to this questioner just being like, oh, what madness? Because normally a lot of times that's when, the debate would just break out, just shouting back and forth, blah, blah, blah. No, Maharaj does this. Yes, divine madness. What is wrong in letting go the illusion of personal control and personal responsibility? Both are in the mind only. Of course, as long as you imagine yourself to be in control, you should also imagine yourself to be responsible. One implies the other. So this is interesting too. Like Maharaj is very good at also, like a lot of good, I think, thinkers and then people who good philosopher, guru, whatever. Like this is always a good ability, just in general. I think for any sort of person using their brain or using their soul or whatever, be able to twist the logic of what the person is arguing against you. Like you gotta be able to use their own logic, twist it around against them too at times. That's a very very important way of yeah. It's a very important skill I think. And so yeah, I like that. He just twists it around. And then the questioner says, how can a universal be responsible for the particular? Maharaj, all life on earth depends on the sun. Yet you cannot blame the sun for all that happens. Though it is the ultimate cause, light causes the color of the flower, but it neither controls nor is responsible for it directly. It makes it possible. That is all. So I like that. That's a very interesting metaphor. Because like it's like this idea is like essentially why so how is it this it's essentially saying like the reason why we exist at least the way I kind of interpret this is that the reason why we exist is because we do. It's kind of one of those. It's very self, but I feel like that's kind of ultimately is the answer in a way. Like it's a weird. It's not the fun answer, but it's like because we do. We have to in order to ask the question. It's very self defeating, but and it does take you down some weird rabbit holes. But that's what I mean. That's what existence is, right? But by the end, by the end, the questioner literally is saying like, "Take me over." At one point, he literally does say, "Take me over," and in fact, um, and in fact, the way Maharaj even then responds to that. This is the very last thing in the chapter. I am doing it, but you resist. You give reality to concepts, while concepts are distortions of reality. Abandon all conceptualization and stay silent and attentive. Be earnest about it, and all will be well with you. Because, yeah, I feel like at the end of this was like a giant, like, hey, snap out of it, dude. Get out of your head, get out of this world. You're beyond this just form. Because this guy is like convinced I am the body. When you're convinced you are the body, you're going to have a lot of yeah, there's a lot of existential problems that comes from that. But once you can realize you're beyond that and there's so much more that there's so much just more possibility and things become truly magnificent. So I think this is a good chapter. If you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it. Um, I Am That by Maharaj. And yeah, check out the rest of these videos if you haven't already. I hope you have a good day. Peace.